So really quickly, I'm going to walk us through what the Westward Expansion Unit will look like. The kids are going to have a packet to fill out that will take them through the museum gallery. Now what they first are going to come across is the Mountain Man in Oregon, and they're going to come across the Manifest Destiny quote by John L. O'Sullivan. Then they're going to go and see what it's like to be a mountain man fur trapper. And you see the beaver pelts and the trees, the tent set up where they will quote unquote meet a mountain man. And we'll talk about how difficult it was to live on the frontier between 1806 and in the 1840s. And I'll be sitting there and we'll be eating beef jerky and talking about what life was really like. From then, the kids will look at what the Oregon Trail looked like. How was the Oregon Trail set up? What supplies were they needed? A typical day on the Oregon Trail, and some of the difficulties that the Oregon Trail settlers faced. They'll come through. They'll then see a map of the United States and what the Oregon Trail looked like, including some images, including a mountain man, a rendezvous, and the plainness and the openness of the trails, and then rivers that they would cross. On the Oregon Trail, the kids will then look at the history of Texas, the Western movement in Texas, looking at from 1821 when Stephen F. Austin and 297 settlers moved out there, to when in the 1840s, Sam Houston becoming the first senator elected from, Texas becoming the Lone Star Republic and then becoming a part of the United States, when Samuel Houston becomes the first senator from Texas. So they'll look at some Texas history. They'll then read a little bit about the Mexican War. They have a video to watch on the Mexican War from Brain Pop, also a video on Westward Expansion. From there, they'll go to the Mormons, and they'll learn about the history of the Mormons, not only in America, but their religion, and also their voyage west in the 1840s when Brigham Young eventually led Joseph Smith's settlers in July of 1847 to the Great Salt Lake Basin. So they'll read about the Mormons and Joseph Smith's testimony about the Book of Mormon and what he saw on September 21st, 1823, when he was contacted by the divine spirits. From the Mormon history, the kids will then go into the 1840s to the Gold Rush, where they will come across the American River. Kids will learn about the Gold Rush, how the Gold Rush changed the nation, both physically and in terms of the spread of population. They'll also look at some Native American tribes that were influenced by the Gold Rush. From the Gold Rush, they'll watch a video that's a 10-minute video from the History Channel and PBS that talks about the Gold Rush itself and what settlers did, who the Gold Rush attracted, the impact the Gold Rush had on the nation and the world. From there, the kids come across to an interesting site, which they see all the time. The teepee that I have set up in the classroom is now down here. But they're going to see a map of the Native American tribes that were affected by Westward Expansion. And they're going to notice immediately that it was a lot. It wasn't just one or two, and it wasn't just a few places, but almost the entire West of the Native Americans being affected by it. And they're going to have to write a little bit about how the Native Americans might have been affected by white settlers moving west, and also immigrants coming from all over the world into California and Oregon. From the Gold Rush and Native America, they go to the impact of technology in the 1840s. The telegraph, the invention of Morse code, which we got a little ticker here. And they'll see a little bit of history of Morse code. They have a couple of messages they'll have to decipher. And they're also going to realize, wow, this Morse code thing's right in the middle of the room. And they'll follow the Morse code, the history of the Morse code. They'll follow it all the way till they get to 1860 in the Pony Express. And they'll see how the invention of Morse code killed what would be the Pony Express, which in terms of Westward Expansion, the Pony Express doesn't have that massive of an impact, but it is kind of cool for the kids to see the history of the Pony Express, the difficulty of sending messages and staying in contact with the West from the 1840s all the way to 1861 when the Pony Express was when it ended. And then the last thing the kids will come across in the Westward Expansion Unit, when James K. Polk on July 4th laid out the cornerstone for what would be the obelisk of Washington's monument. They'll read a little bit about that and how Washington's nation only stretched to the Mississippi River, and now just 40 years later how it would expand and then cover an entire continent. The kids have a lot of reflective writing based on what they will have seen, the images, and some of the facts that are posted all around the room, and also some of the images posted around the room. And the kids will have to explain what difficulties and the pros and cons for all people in Westward Expansion Manifest Destiny from 1806-ish to approximately 1860.